Okay, there we are. I think that's top of the hour. Sorry, I am getting back into the swing of things and trying to figure out uh, my setup and how everything's working. I've tweaked a lot of stuff and I've got new audio boards and extra wires and different headphones, and so I'm a little flustered trying to figure out how to make sure everything's working. That's what I get for not testing ahead of time. Welcome back, everyone. I apologize for my long absence on the stream. I was out sick for a while. There was a cold that ran rampant through my house. And then also, I ended up just with some scheduling conflicts, and it has been busy. So I do apologize. But with that said, we are in the middle of Hacktoberfest. And after a slightly bumpy start to the month, DigitalOcean got things more or less squared away. The big change is Hacktoberfest repositories in an effort to cut down on some spam. They're making repositories opt into it. So the material design project is, or I should say, has been opted into Hacktoberfest. So if people are looking to get their pull requests in to earn a shirt, great. We would love to have people come in. I wrote up a bunch of initial tickets, and I think they were gone in like 24 hours. So I've been largely overwhelmed with the huge number of people that have jumped in and been contributing on top of the normal contributors. So thank you to everybody. Um, Unlike some repositories, there hasn't been that much spam. I don't deal with a lot of spam with the material design repository. I don't know why I don't seem to get as much as some people that were complaining. There's been one or two that have come through that got flagged invalid, but for the most part, people contributing actually seem to be legitimate and just trying to get involved. Some people may be still learning GitHub for the first time, and that's the point of Hacktoberfest. So we welcome all newcomers, and if you are new to it, just leave a comment. Let us know. We're happy to help out. I've also been, just with my chaotic schedule, I've been somewhat ignoring the Gitter chat room. I apologize. But Jasper has been on there, and every time I check in, seems to be doing an amazing job answering questions. So thank you, Jasper, if you're watching. I really do appreciate all of the help. It's been amazing having so many more active people on there helping people out and answering questions. So, for tonight, that was a very long-winded introduction. My plan is to dive back into the material design stuff. There's been a lot of breaking changes and stuff that's been merged in preparation for a 4.0 release. Um, One of the things I'd like to do is get the 4.0 release prepped, potentially even to support .NET 5, which is scheduled to release later this year. I think November. Not sure. But sometime in the near future, we're in October. You're in the early hours of the morning. Not quite. So I am West Coast US. So it is late in the evening for me, about 9 p.m. So it is late, and I've been doing a lot of early mornings. So we will see how much energy I have to go. I've got my caffeinated beverage of choice, which my green screen happily deletes for me. There we go. So I've got caffeine, and we'll see how good the caffeine is at keeping me going tonight. Yeah, so I'm gonna dive through some of the material design stuff. Not a lot of rhyme or reason to my madness tonight, and we will see what comes from that. And once again, I didn't prep very well, so let's jump forward and let's make that a little bit bigger for people. So I am going to lead with pull requests. There's been a lot of pull requests that have gone in, and unfortunately, because there's been so much activity, some of these got blocked from merging just to merge due to merge conflicts. So if that's your pull request, I apologize. This one down here actually interests me the most, and I think we actually also have pipeline failures, because the one thing that I don't see in this list is my the pack icon pull request that's almost always open, because on a nightly process I've got a pipeline that goes out and does it, and so I might actually lead with that. Let me go and grab that DevOps instance, and let's take a look, because I'd like to get that pipeline going. I'm very lazy, and so I enjoy trying to get things as efficient as possible. So let's see here. Where are we? Switch directory. And I want to be in, I think, this one. Sorry, I've got way too many DevOps directories, way too many projects. Hey, that looks like where I want to go. Okay, so this guy here, and once again, we'll make that a little bit bigger. So main pull request is fine, but I think it's a release pipeline. Yeah. So big red X. This is not good. So it's been failing for a while, and I'm kind of curious what goes on. So for people who aren't familiar with what is happening here, so there is a tool, the resource gen tool, that can generate the pack icons. It goes out to the material designicons.net, downloads the latest stuff, runs through it, generates out the latest set of icons, and if there's new icons or any changes to existing ones, it just opens a PR for me. So I'm lazy, and then all I do is I look at the PR and go, yeah, it looks good, submit it. So something about this pipeline is failing, and I'd kind of like to know what, because it clearly blew up a while ago. This project references NuGet packages that are not on this machine. Okay, so on an initial clone, this guy is coming down, attempting to do restore, and this is broken. I have a hunch I know which change did this. So we were using Packet to do our restores, and I have a sinking suspicion that when we switched to doing Packet as a .NET local tool, that this guy decided to blow up. So it's under a second solution. We'll just fire that guy up here real quick, and we'll go and look and see what are these NuGet packages and how are they being referenced, because that's likely part of our thing. I also saw a pull request that was designed to change this tool, which that pull request might actually fix this. So we might just go and look at this. So, so this is using the old CS proj. Oh, that's fun. That is fun and exciting. So let's unload the project and let's edit this guy. Okay, so what exactly are you referencing? Okay, so this is probably part of the issue. So I see a bunch of stuff here that are being referenced. This is the old package config structure. What I was looking to see is if this thing was also using Packet or not, and it doesn't look like it is. That's interesting that those versions are out of sync. So that's interesting. Okay, so I think where I'm going to lead is I'm going to go actually back. I want to look at that PR that was porting the MD resource gen over to NetCore. So this looks like, and I'm also curious why. So the command line, so there's conflicts on the branch is part of the issue. But I'm sort of curious. To check this thing out and then just rebase it and see what happens, because I have a sinking suspicion. So specifically what I'm looking to see is the change, because I'm not real concerned about some of these. And honestly, web client probably just needs to go away. This was written a very, very long time ago. And so fancy new shiny HTTP client is the latest hotness for doing it. And honestly, this is a kind of a weird console app. I would switch it to using the system command line library, all kinds of other fun jazz. So this is just some basic cleanup. Cleans up some of the XML interactions. Great, great, great. Switches from, I guess this is still linked to XML, but changes the base types. Looks like largely goes through and just cleans up some of the code. This kind of looks like what I expect to see with the JetBrains. Oh, excellent. So this exclamation mark here, this is what is called the null forgiveness operator, but the presence of this seems to imply that nullable reference types have been enabled, which excites me. So this is really what I want to see. So it switches to the new project type, changes the output, target framework, clears out all of that stuff, removes the generated template CS, and goes to town on everything. Looks like a rev of the package versions too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, significant rev of the package versions to the latest. That is awesome. Wax the packages config, packet dependencies, storage none. I'd have to look at exactly what that is. I'm not sure why these ones need to be done. I'm not sure if the packet changes are even necessary given that this project wasn't using packet to begin with. So let's start with, let's go and just check this out. So pull request 2124. So everybody's favorite get Kraken, and I've got way too many things. So 2124. So let's grab this guy, check it out, and we'll do a quick rebase and just see what's going on. So you can see this guy was done way back here. It's actually interesting because this is the last time the pipeline icons shows up in my history, so it must have broke shortly after this point. Let's see. Is my master delayed? No, my master's up here. His remote master. I got too many remotes being shown. Okay, so this guy here. Yeah, don't really care about that. That's just because Visual Studio's open and trying to be helpful for me. Close you down. I don't really want you to be helpful. Discard, please. Thanks. I think what I want to do is just rebase this onto master. And we'll resolve the conflicts then, because I should get the same conflicts here. Let's see. So we want this one here. Yeah, because I want to take the master change of that. And this guy is deleted. So we'll get rid of that. Continue rebase. Okay, so that didn't seem that hard. So given that, let's grab this and verify it compiles. So if this guy compiles and runs, I'm very, very inclined to switch over to using him. And then I'll change my release pipeline because I think the breakage on the pipeline here is the task in question that's being used. So if we go back, icon update, edit, this guy is using an old school Visual Studio build task. And I think we just throw it away and just use the straight up .NET CLI task and be done with it. Because that'll do the NuGet restore and all the cool, hip, happy things for me, which would be awesome. Okay, so there's that. Let's reload the project. Let's make sure you work. Oh, one other thing. I forgot an announcement. Let's see. Spokane.net user group. So I am speaking at a local user group coming up in November. It is a free event. It is on all of the essentials of C# 9. So myself and my boss, Mark Michaelis, who is the author of the Essential C# book series, we will be giving that presentation. Is it November 14th? November 10th. So it's a Tuesday evening, 5:45 Pacific. I think 5:45 is just when the live stream is going to go up, but I don't think the actual talk is going to actually start until 6. Usually there's some sort of like fun quiz or whatnot or kind of thing that's going to go on in the first 15 minutes just to give people a chance to join in and whatnot. And then a couple hours of diving through all of the awesomeness that is C# 9, which will be coming at the same time that .NET 5 drops. So just be aware that is very much forthcoming. Okay, so back to this. So first thing I note, the dependencies, yellow triangle. This is usually what you get when you clone a new package and the NuGet packages need to be pulled down. So there's a functional change that happens when you switch to the new SDK project style from the old one. So you'll notice there's no more packages config. And more importantly, when these packages get downloaded, they get downloaded to a shared package cache on your system. It's usually under your user profile in a .NuGet folder. But it means that all projects that reference the same version of the package will use the shared instance rather than having a separate one checked out everywhere. So you get a lot better performance. And I believe I saw this. Hang on one second. Where's the unload? Am I blind or stupid? Oh, I'm not on this. I believe because I think this is an issue that I saw with the preview that I'm on of Visual Studio. Is it the icons don't update after they initially get downloaded? So they're now all downloaded and updated. This guy runs, I hope. Look at that. That is wonderful. Okay, so the fact that that guy compiles and that the code is largely identical, I don't think I need to do much more than this. I think what we are going to do here is I am going to force push this and hope that I have permissions. So, question, woot woot, I have permissions. So that'll rev the pull request. So I should see back over here, yeah, if we hit refresh, that will resolve the conflicts. So this guy should no longer show with conflicts, and the main pipeline will kick off and run, which is kind of a worthless ceremony at this point because the main pipeline isn't going to actually compile this project. What we are interested in doing, though, is changing this guy. So I want to update this pipeline and go through and test it. So I want to add a new step in here, .NET Core add, right? So it's not a build command that I want. I just want to kick off a run. Actually, I guess, I guess we could just let this thing compile and do a build because the generate icons is going to do that as well. So you'll note this guy's all the way down, hidden underneath build configuration, which I assume there must be a variable declared for that. Yeah, build configuration release. Okay, so I could, we could whack both of these steps and just do it in one shot. So let's just disable that for the moment. I think so. Let's fire up terminal here real quick. So d:, change drives, please. cd dev and that one. And so I think what I might want to do here, cd md resgen, I think we can just do a .NET run. And I think if I do icons, it'll do exactly what I want. .NET space run. And then the double hyphen, if my memory is correct, yeah, so it's downloading icon data. The double hyphen will say anything after this is raw arguments that I want to pass to the actual executable. So we can just, yeah, so this guy is off to the races and running. Perfect, which is exactly what we want to see. So we can eliminate 2 steps and just do a straight up .NET run. And all we need to do is make sure that we change our directory into the same directory as the project. So the .NET commands, if your working directory only contains a single project or a solution, it'll just assume that that's the one you want and use it. So you don't have to specify anything else as long as you're in a directory that only contains one of those. If there's more than one and it can't figure out, what to do, then it gets confused. So this just takes it a minute because it has to do a lot of thinking and crunching, and we've added some smarts to it. So I'm going to let that guy sit and think about what he's done for a moment. Ooh, could not find part of the directory. That may be a bug that we need to address, because this looks like it may have put together something bad. Oh, that's an interesting problem. I'm willing to bet it's making the assumption that the working directory is something like bin debug, all, yada yada yada, all the way down. That's probably a really bad assumption. So we'll go and fix that here in just a second. Yeah, but I think as far as the pipeline's concerned, we're going to get rid of these two tasks because this one was just literally executing the compiled one, and we're just going to let's see, .NET run arguments. I think all we do is, let's see, so not that. We just want dash dash icons, right? Because that was the only thing that we did. Oh, we actually probably want to do, what was the variable name? Configuration or similar, build configuration. So we can do a dash C and pass build configuration. So that'll do it with release or whatever we change that to. So we don't need path to project specified. Yeah, that should be fine. That should be fine. The working directory is not fine. We need to change this. And I think what we're going to do is just yeah, so we just need to switch the working directory to there. And away we go. I think that'll get, we're going to save that first of all, and then let's go and check this thing. Let's see, icon thing. Yeah, so you'll note our output. Oh, that is tiny. Let's go bigger. There, that's better. That's better. Okay, so if we look here, we saw a bunch of this downloading icon data, got icons, updating enum, right? So doom. This guy here pulls it down, got some items. Where's that got? Get source data. I don't know if that doesn't feel overly useful. Okay, so let's clean some of this up. I'm not going to change away from the web client stuff at the moment. I'm more interested in the writing of the files. Yeah, this is what I was worried about, right? Is this guy here, write all text. He's making some very large sweeping assumptions about the working directory. So pack icon factory is here. So in the main repository, or I guess here, right? So we need to get ourselves back up to the root and then all the way down. I'm almost wondering if it's better to have, I'm wondering if it would be good to have the command line pass it in, or if it should try and derive it. Trying to decide. Maybe we should be a little smarter and just trying to decide how many assumptions I want to make, because like the cheater solution is for me to go, oh, I already know the working directory that this thing's going to be run as. Let's just use that. I'm thinking but then that has problems because now if I F5 this guy, it's a slightly different working directory, and that's a problem. Yada, yuck, 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 yuck. Right? I'm thinking it might be better if this guy simply made the assumption that some parent directory is going to contain this, right? I'm almost wondering if we just iterate until we do it. So let's do this. For string current directory gets path, get full path from here, right? Loop while, what isn't it path? Is there a Well, because if I remember right, get directory returns null at the root, I think is how that works. Let's see. Let's just confirm that. Interactive. Boom. So I would like to test. So for people who haven't seen this, the interactive console is just a free C# REPL. You can just dive in here and start typing C#. So get directory name, and I'm pretty sure if I feed it something like C:/ right, this guy, escape that, right, is going to return null. Okay, perfect. So we will loop while current get directory name is not null, and current directory will get path get directory name. So it's also worth noting get directory name is kind of a misleading sort of a misleading method. If we look at this guy here and expand out his docs, returns the directory or null if the path denotes a root directory or is null. Let's see, if the path does not contain directory information. Oh, so maybe we should check for empty, null or empty. Yeah, that'll work. But it'll get you the path to the parent directory. So let's try that. So while not string is null or empty. All right, so we'll do that. Clear that. Poof. And so if file dot, or I'm sorry, let's do this. String path gets path combine. So current directory, and I want to hunt for this. And actually, I think what we're gonna do is this. We're gonna change this up a little bit. So if so this is usually a horrible idea. So in general, checking for file exists is fraught with peril, because there's no guarantee that after I check that the file exists. So I check this, I get back a Boolean, right? As soon as I get inside this if statement, I have zero guarantees that that file still exists. None whatsoever. So aside from that badness, we're going with it. This is just a helper app. I'm not worried about being overly pedantic. So we will then do file, write all text, passing path, and content. All right, so we'll just do this. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to change this guy up here, and we're going to make this guy path combine. So put these together for me because I don't want to think too hard about slashes because that's a lot of thinking. So that'll put those together, and this is going to change from file name to file path, and then this goes away, right? So that now works. So he's going to walk up from his current directory, regardless of what that is, because I could try to get like the directory of the current assembly or something and walk from there, but I think we're just going to say, we're going to assume that our working directory is in a child that will contain the passed in file path, and go from there. That way, if it's in a bin debug, bin release, I don't care. I don't care if it gets nested one level deeper or not, right? So let's clear that out. We'll just recheck our .NET run and confirm that this works. And then we'll push one more change up to this branch, just to confirm that this guy works. This thing also has extra stuff for like generating the color templates, which those have been a little less helpful, especially since the material design stuff has changed. So, but the icon generation, very, very handy. I kind of wish I hadn't cleared my output because this looks like a different thing than what it did before. So let that guy go. I assume if I check here, right, yes, the check should show Why do I not see checks? I'm a little confused why I don't see checks being run on this thing. Do I have another bug? No, see, some of these are getting these. Hey, yes, Robert, WPF, and at the moment, fixing my pipeline for auto-generating icons because nothing's better. And it's very nice being able to delete that, and replacing it with .NET Run. No thinking. Just go do the thing. And then a bunch of stuff to do, git checks and all that kind of jazz. Because I can do that kind of thing. Yeah. Does the audio sound okay, Robert? I don't know if you were here at the beginning. Hey, Marcus, how you doing? I am a little shocked. Excellent. So this guy broke. Interesting. .NET build error. Why did this pipeline break? We've got pipeline problems. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oy vey. Okay, well, I'm not going to stress about that because I'm about to push a change to it here in just a second. Sweet! That's good to hear. So, for those people who have no idea what Robert's talking about, we did a WPF change today to enable virtualization on an items control, which is fun. Let's see. Question from Marcos. Do you have a course for beginners in WPF? So a course? Not really. However, I do have something that will likely interest you. This URL here. So YouTube kabu.dev. And there is a video and or videos here. Where was it called? Was it? I think it was under my budgeting one. Learn C# and WPF. So this guy here. So this one here is, I would say, a very good one for learning. And then there was, this is a bit of a follow-up to it, the App Center one, but this gets you a little bit deeper into deployment options, which is probably beyond what you're looking for. But I would suggest starting with that one. I go into a lot of it, just kind of laying it out. It's worth noting that WPF is highly opinionated. People have various ways that they'll tell you that you, quote unquote, should or shouldn't write WPF, with a large camp of people heavily favoring MVVM. Oh yeah, and Pluralsight as well. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but I thought, wasn't Pluralsight doing either some deal or something this month where it was, oh, deal ends today in 2 hours. Yeah, so there was a deal going on Pluralsight. I remembered I had seen something about it. So if you're interested, there's a lot of really good courses up there as well. So if you are interested, I will say I have not specifically watched the WPF ones myself, but I've had other people tell me that they found them to be very useful. So definitely a worthwhile resource. So this guy did go and generate the pack icon stuff, which is great. It does interest me a little bit that it generated, oh yeah. So there's all of that. There's all of that. Okay. I'm a little shocked that I see the data factory and not the enum value. Typically there's two changed files because you can see it's adding enum values here. So that mildly concerns me that didn't edit both, but I see, oh, probably because there was a moron who didn't Okay, so here's what we need to do here. This thing needs to return when it finds it. And then down here, console, right line, warning, failed to find, right? We need to give ourselves some useful output, because not having output is a great way to be very, very confused when things don't work. File path. See, I'm a junior because the beginner's materials are very difficult to find. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. And I will say the thing I would encourage you to do the most is come up with something that you want to build. I usually recommend to people that, because people will ask, what programming language or thing should I start with, and it's like, it doesn't really matter. But find something that you're interested in building and build that, because if you're interested in it, you're going to stick with it, and it's going to last a lot longer for you. So let's see, update enum. This is source file, blah, blah, blah. I'm just trying to figure out if this is just looking for a template, which is fine. Kind of wondering, because this one explicitly excluded the templates. And I'm wondering if maybe, so here, real quick, auto format. And I think I actually want to bring in the templates. I think. Right? Why don't I see the template files? Where are they? Palette. Oh, so it is here. Oh, this is just removing it from the compile set. There's still the none. Am I missing it? Oh, they're right. They're literally right here in front of me. Because it's being used by another process. So that tells me. Oh, this thing is still running. Ha ha ha. Why did that hold on to it? Does it have a read line at the end of this thing? Ha ha ha. I think we're going to just get rid of that. There's no reason to. Let's see. Just did the C# development fundamentals and scored 280. I'm better than 98% of the developers on the deviation according to the test on Plural site. Congratulations, Robert. I've never actually done that. So don't laugh, but the very first Microsoft certification test that I took was on C#, and I actually failed my first time. I was very disappointed, and I was a little annoyed because some of the questions that I missed I felt were either worded poorly or let's see, there was several that I felt were worded poorly or were misleading, and it kind of felt like I was being tested on my ability to read into the questions rather than on knowledge of C#. It was annoying. After that, I then made it my mission to go back and beat the test, which I did eventually do. So they are beatable. So the tests are good for testing your knowledge. Just don't put too much stock in your results. Unless you get good ones like you did, in which case put a lot of stock in them. That's important. Okay, so we'll clean that up. Clean that up. Okay, just because I haven't gotten it to work all the way. Probably good, maybe. Let's get one good successful run out of this. And then we'll go from there, because this would definitely break us. So let's see here. We want to... Gotta put on the resume. Yes, you do. Let's see. So that's just formatting. At some point, I should probably change my formatting. It's defaulting to 4 spaces for all XML-based files. And I don't know if I like that. Everyone has their own preference. Let's see. Fixing working directory when tool is executed from project root. No longer pausing at the end of execution. So it's worth noting the reason that people used to actually go through and put this type of stuff, the console is input redirected at the end of their code, is because before what would happen is your terminal window would come up, and then if nothing stopped it, it would just close. Not overly helpful. So what Microsoft did in, I think it was, might have even been like one of the later releases of Visual Studio 2017, is now when you F5 into them, the default is to leave the terminal window open. The only time it automatically shuts down is if you launch it from outside of Visual Studio or similar, which is, yeah, add a console read key last line. The only problem is with that console read key, Robert, is it can screw you up for automation, right? Because then you have to also check if input is redirected, so that if you want to say run this tool in a pipeline, that it doesn't just hang your pipeline waiting for that input that never comes. Okay, so that finished. And if we look, there we go. Now the enum got updated. Great, lots of enum-y stuff. That's what we like to see. And then the pack icon factory. So these changes I don't want because these are generated. So those go away. And these guys come in here. Let's see, no longer pushing at the end of execution. One of my coworkers shared one of those websites where you can go and measure your typing skill. I described myself before taking the test as an advanced hunt and pecker. And unfortunately, at the end of it, what did I come up with? I think I did 45 words per minute with like a 98% accuracy. I discovered that I work with people who are really good typers. I am not one of them. So, proof that you can be a developer and not be very good at typing. Just means you're going to wait a little while. Okay, pipeline. So I think what I now know is I can remove this task. I can remove this task. And now my entire pipeline is clone the repo, right? It automatically checks itself out into a particular branch. Robert, I'm legally blind. If I had to hunt and peck, I'd be horrible. That is true. Thank you, Robert. I am a better hunt and pecker than a blind guy, I guess. I ended up not posting my initial stats right away because I was looking at everyone else's and I felt bad. I'm like, man, I'm literally at the bottom. And then ultimately I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just post it. I was like, for all I know, maybe it'll encourage somebody else to post and not feel as bad about themselves. So we did. Okay, save that. And I think what we're going to do is this guy here is probably kicking off another run right now. And I'm a little curious if this guy's going to fail or pass. It kind of shocked me that it failed before. Kind of shocked me a little bit because this pipeline should not be failing. Because it's not building that other tool. So let me just double check the latest run. So checking the branch that these things were from. Yeah, the last build off of master was Friday. Shoot, almost a week ago. That's how long it's been. Wow, I got to get on this more. And it succeeded. And then a bunch of pull request builds, and they all, well, aside from mine, succeeded. So I don't know why that last one failed. That's just weird. Oh, I might know. Because we did technically change some stuff. You were 6 of those, so that's a reasonable excuse. Yes. Yeah, I'd mentioned to Robert earlier today, I was, while I was sick, I was like, maybe I can lay in bed and write some code. That lasted about 5 minutes. I went through and I tried to write some code, and my head was so foggy from either the cold medicine that I had taken or just being sick that I kind of just stared at Visual Studio for a while and went, yeah, I can't handle this. This is not working. It's like, unfortunately, programming takes a certain amount of brain power, and my brain had no power. Okay, so I'm betting that when I rebased and my changes to packet must have broken something. So let's check that real quick. So restore via packet should have handled it. So let's jump back, because I imagine that's actually, so we can look at the changes up here. Right? So this change doesn't matter. This change could matter because this is dropping system net HTTP. Same here. So these, well, this is WPF tests and MA apps. Tests. This is just the app config. That doesn't matter. Icon thingy. This is the thing we just changed. And more importantly, it's not what's causing it to break. This is in the resource gen, CS proj change we looked at, package config. Storage none. This change could be doing it. This change could be doing it. So I wonder if, because I'm not familiar with what storage none does, I am somewhat tempted to take that back out. And what is the get ignore changing? Oh, it's just white space, so that doesn't matter. Because this is dropping system net HTTP, which is probably a good change. I don't remember why that's in there. Possibly for this old one, but I'm wondering if this storage none is doing it. How is the JSON.NET package completing with Newton's? Oh, the JSON.NET compete with Newtonsoft. Well, so I'll put it this way. If you were to go to this and just look at packages, Newtonsoft .json, what is that? Double the next closest number by sheer downloads. Newtonsoft.json is more than double second place, so it has a, we'll say, a commanding lead. It hasn't been updated in a little while, so that might give you a bit of pause. There's a couple things, I guess, to consider. So the newer Microsoft JSON library is significantly more performant. Like, it is a significant update. However, there are a few features that it doesn't support in order to get that performance. And I'm trying to remember what they are. There's some interesting stuff around like default naming, or if you've got a bunch of investment into like the attributes, because we ran into this problem at one point on one of my projects. And we ended up, because if you're inside of an ASP.NET Core project, you can just switch into the other, like, it's like 3 lines of code to switch back to Newtonsoft. It's not hard. And you're off to the races. And we switched back only because we had upgraded a project from .NET Core like 2.1 up to 3.1, and there was just a ton of stuff. And in the effort to not touch every file as part of the upgrade, we just flipped Newtonsoft back on. But I believe the plan is to go back and turn Newtonsoft back off and deal with the, there was something weird, if I remember right, with like the casing of the naming of members or something. So I would say Newtonsoft.json will probably stay in the lead and remain there for a very, very, very long time. I would be shocked if the new one usurped it anytime soon in terms of like sheer numbers. But if I was building a new project, I would be using the new Microsoft library. That would be my preference. Okay, all of that, and I now need to go edit a packet file. Packet files, no, not packet files, it's packet. Not packet restore targets. Where the heck is this thing live? Where are you? Packet dependencies, that's the one I want. Packet dependencies, you. So I don't remember. Let's just get rid of the storage none. Sorry, I got to collapse something. Okay, so I don't know what this does. More importantly, this was working without it, and it's not working with it. So we're gonna try it and see what happens, because I do want this change. This is a very, very good work. Removing storage none. Push. And I'm sort of interested to see packet storage none. I'm curious what that does. Storage none. You can opt out of generating the packages folder by using the storage option here. Got it. So by setting storage none, oh, so that is very likely, refresh. So that is actually very likely my failure, because the failure that we ran into here is the imported project. And that the file exists on disk. So the material design demo is failing to compile, and it appears because the packet, it expects to find a build file in the packages directory. Oh. This may not be related to that. We may go flip that back on. Let's get the other solution open first. Let's get the other solution open. So reading OP. Let's see. So one, I am noticing that it is expecting to find this in the packages directory. So turning this on may legitimately fix the problem, but this file likely won't be there. So I think what needs to happen, and I'm surprised that this is the PR that's breaking, but what it's saying is this guy here. Yeah, see, this is the line here that's breaking. This is the line here that's breaking. This is an import. Yeah. Okay, so so a couple things worth noting. Inside of a NuGet package, NuGet packages, there's a fancy trick where if you create a targets file and put it inside of the build folder inside of your NuGet package, and the file is my NuGet package ID.targets, it'll automatically get picked up and included inside of your CS proj for free, right? That's part of the Microsoft NuGet workflow. The problem is Packet has to duplicate that behavior in order to, work accurately with NuGet. And so it's generated this import project here. And the issue being that this thing no longer exists. So by taking out the packages file, this file will no longer live there. And I'm not entirely sure. I'm curious to see what this thing does, because this guy, so mine's going to work because the packages file isn't under source control. So unfortunately, it just doesn't get cleaned up. And we could do a git reset hard and put ourselves back in a clean state. But I'm a little curious. To know how Packet's supposed to deal with this. I think just turning that off likely fixes our problem. Nope, it did not. So let's go and look again, and let's see what it's unhappy about. So it's still saying it when it's pulling this down. So something, I'm a little confused as to restore packet. So packet dependencies, to recompute package lock file, blah, blah, blah. Changes were detected. So it downloads all of these. I'm just not entirely sure where it puts those. I'm curious. So let's look at this docs real quick. So the storage option has 3 values. Packages, right, which is, let's see here, disable packages folder. Yeah, so when you switch to the new team, the packet team notices a dramatic increase of well-known package folder. Historically, one way was tell packet you only want to compile. Yes. Net cores don't require an explicit deal. Load scripts can reference file in the global cache. Therefore, make the packages folder opt out. So that's fine. So I'm a little curious. So let's handle this real quick. So, oh, I apparently closed down my other terminal. So cd, let's see, dev, material design. So, okay, so here's something before you do anything crazy. You first make sure you have no pending changes. This is a horrible command to run if you have pending changes, right? So, God, zoom in a terminal is just so wonderful. Okay, git reset hard. What is it? Oh, no. Sorry. Git clean directories force all the things. Okay, so this is going to go. Visual Studio needs to not be running anymore because it's going to hold on to files. And should I try again? Please. Yeah, so we're just going to run that one more time because the VS directory. Okay, so it has gone through and removed absolutely everything, right? So this is clean clone state, nothing fancy whatsoever. So let's go and look at real quick here. So this does a restore tools. So if we look at the command that's being run, it is running .NET tool restore, which we need to do. So we will do .NET tool restore because we switched to using Packet as a .NET local tool, right? So it restored Packet, which is great. That's what we want. So we'll look at the next one, right? And the command being run is .NET Packet restore. So we'll do that next. So .NET packet restore, and it'll go and do its thing. And I'm curious, cannot detect any platforms. Please tell the package authors. Well, given that I am the package author, consider myself told. They're wrong. Yeah, I'll double check this. I know this is an old and a deprecated one, but it is a legit option for the NuGet package. Yeah, so that's fine. So it restored. Let's check and see what we've got here in our folder, right? So down here we have no packages directory. And so if I were to build this, I'm fairly confident what's about to happen is it would fail because of that import. So the question is do I care and is it necessary? I am thinking that import might just be a holdover from, so I just want to check. Show me the XAML. So I'm thinking that guy is a holdover and not necessary. Yeah, so I think that is true. So I am going to try this. we're going to just comment that guy out because he is ultimately the problem child. Yep, and then we are going to rebuild it because so this target here, I wrote myself, right? And so which is why it didn't get cleaned up. And I'm thinking simply removing it, this thing should still work. And I'm mostly confident in that. So rebuild successful. That's what we're looking for. Set startup project. I am very shocked that the other builds have all just worked. Okay, so we test this by going to like the buttons page, right? So show me the XAML. Works like a charm. Okay, so the short version is we just remove the problematic lines, and I think we could go back and put that storage none back in. So we're going to stash pending changes. Let's see here. Revert commit. Yeah, auto convert. And then, yeah, that. And then we'll pop stash. Pop stash. Okay, so that cleaned up the CS proj. Okay, stage all changes. Let's see. Removing problematic. Show me the XAML references in demo app. So there is a bit of a chicken and the egg problem with show me the XAML. So it wants to run as part of the build so that it can generate up all of the XAML needed to show that pretty pop-up. The problem being that the build is also the thing that likely restores it. So you get this back and forth thing. So that target that was in there was largely there to give a useful error if people had failed to run a packet restore and they were curious why their demo wasn't working. But if you fail the packet restore, you're going to have a different problem now. So it's kind of meaningless. Okay, so that's there. See, I'm glad I actually checked the pipeline. So this guy should now kick off and run. I'd kind of like to see that go just so I can have this thing run, because I would like to see a successful run of this guy, because this guy is saved. I just can't do a release until this other thing merges, and I need this other thing to merge by getting past the build. So we will let this go, and then we'll go review some other stuff while it's off to the races, and then we'll merge in. Okay, so while that's thinking about it, let's go and look at what else is potentially out here. So we'll clean that up, clean that up, clean that up. Okay, so made it the default startup project. Oh, that sounds helpful. I am a little confused as to how this works. Like, this change isn't bad, but how... I don't believe this will actually make it the default startup project. The issue with this is the default startup project, I'm pretty sure, is user config and stored in the .vs directory, which is explicitly excluded. We'll circle back to that. I want to check that one in a clean repo because I don't. I'll pull that out and do that same thing. Let's see. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Multi-trigger for disabling checkbox animations using ripple assists. So bug in question, I assume, is... Yep, that looks like a legit bug. They added a test in the toggles, which is great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it when people do that. So let's see here, though. So before we had an event trigger that triggered on click. And this adds, so it's not on click, it's on press, which is technically different. But is it different enough to matter? I don't think it will. I don't think it will. Because press, you can get something into the state of is pressed without necessarily using the click event. For example, touch events can get you into a similar state. Okay, I mean, this looks fairly good. Let's just confirm 2126. Collapse that. 2126. Check it out. Oh, get cracking. You make me so happy. Oh, stop loading stuff on me. Okay, so we'll fire that up. We'll fire that up. And this guy here. Let's see. No. What are the build errors? Was not imported by... Right, so that other one is really going to hang me up until that merges in. Good news is it got past the build and it's just running tests. So unit test passed, and now it's running UI tests, which is great. That's what we want. Huzzah. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah. I do want to get, so the UI testing library that we're using is my own, called XAML test. And the big advantage is, unlike normal UI testing libraries that go through the accessibility layer, this one is built around developer focus, and so you get to interact with your objects directly, which is a lot simpler in my opinion. Makes life a lot easier, so that you can act on stuff. I've got some high hopes with some of the .NET Interactive stuff in Snoop that will hopefully make it really, really cool at some point. In the interest of simplicity, let's just go, and we know the bug. These two lines need to die. Okay. Go ahead and launch, and you should be fine. What? A unique key is required. What? No key was specified. Oh, yuck. Because this was targeted on an old version of Packet, or on an old version of Show Me the XAML, which means every single one of those is going to be broken. Yeah. Yeah, because I'm fairly confident that this guy did a bunch of references, and I might need to just restart Visual Studio too. The MS build process that Visual Studio uses for compilation stays running, so unfortunately can cache stuff. They've been working on fixing it, but I keep running into cases where it's smart, but it's only so smart, and it can occasionally just lose its mind. Yeah, so the issue being that this guy is, man, is it every single one of those that's blowing up? Oh my word. Yeah, it's because this is targeted on an old version of Show Me the XAML. Okay, this is getting annoying. This is getting really, really annoying. I kind of want to just, okay, revert changes, revert changes. Okay, so more importantly, I know a couple things about this. I know the thing runs, and I'm somewhat tempted to just let it merge. You should be built now, right? Yes. I don't know why this thing has stopped showing checks. I legitimately don't, because it's clearly running them. Yeah, so green check. That guy works. Let's put this guy as part of the 4.0 milestone. I don't know if it needs much else. That'll work. That goes there. Confirm squash. Boom. Okay, so that fixes that, which is great. Now, most importantly, we're going to pull up latest here because they're going to get one more commit up there. And then this disable checkbox ripple, right click, rebase. Okay. Now we're cooking with fire. Rebuild and be happy again. Pretty please. So, but the short version is this pull request here is at minimum something good that we want. So we're going to pick this up. It's not a breaking visual change because this thing, it wasn't implemented before, so there was no way for it to do it. Okay, so we're gonna just drop you. Let's see. Packet restore and relaunch, and you should be in a happy place. You shouldn't have. You should have just literally this stuff left. Where's the Mountain Dew? Good point. Unfortunately, it's empty now. I made a mistake and did not bring enough with me. I really need to fix that. Okay, launch demo. Should not. I'm sorry, what? Debug profile doesn't exist. Okay, I'm going to have to go with you. You are not paying attention, Visual Studio. I said launch. I know you worked because the pipeline worked. Okay, so when in doubt, git clean dfx, wipe that sucker out. So git, what was it? Or not, .NET tool restore. Great. .NET packet restore. I'm tempted to put those lines into a little PowerShell script or something and check it in. Because that should fix it. Everyone should be happy. We should just launch. Right? When in doubt, throw away everything. And I am a big fan of having like startup scripts or similar. Like if your repository, see, build successful. What a shock. Sorry. Material design specified in the debug profile doesn't exist. Set as startup. Set as startup. Why do you think? Okay, I'm confused why it thinks that that's where it needs to be looking. So main demo WPF, right? Bin debug net472. Bin debug net472. Folder's empty. Well, that's not a good sign. Folder's empty. You compiled. Sorry, what? Last I checked, compile means generate executable. Okay, build succeeded. No, it didn't. You're lying to me. Yeah, that's a good point, Robert. When this thing's done, I'll go and check the build order and see. Okay, so it claims to have built bin debug. Okay, maybe it just needed a rebuild. I'm wondering if the obj directory was caching something and so it thought it was already built. Okay, all of this so that we can go to the toggles page. And exactly which one So you put in an example, and it is ripple disabled. So ripple disabled. That's disabled. Checkboxes. Oh, ripple disabled right here. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that. There's that kind of like ripple circle-y effect. And this one, no circle effect. Perfect. Looks good to me. Ship it. Ship it, ship it, ship it. So pull request looks fine. Review changes approved. Submit. Let's see. That's in the milestone. Let's make sure the bug is also in the milestone. And squash merge, and away we go. Okay. Theming issues. Let's see. So what are the issues in question that we're talking about here? So flat button theming issues. So current one. Oh, yes. Yeah, we talked about this one. There was some discussion back and forth of how to handle this. And the issue is the hard-coded thingy-bobber here. All right, so you can kind of cheat a little bit. And we had talked about attached properties. We could also use a converter. Yeah, so which one did he go with? I'm not overly picky. Brush opacity converter. Parameter. Convert to double. If the parameter isn't convertible, does it default to 0? Trying to remember how that works. Value is solid color brush. So one thing I'm noticing is in general, so anytime you use the as operator in C#, you absolutely must null check the value because you'll get null. Everything Telerik does, I assume it is a dependency property. Yeah, that sounds right. See, convert back doesn't do anything. Brush opacity converter. So this was the bug ultimately, is the primary hue mid brush was being explicitly set to this with an to the primary hue color with a default opacity, which was frankly dumb. So this guy here comes in. Let's see. So relative source, foreground. So this gets handled by that. And this is actually a change. So from border brush becomes foreground. Why did we make that change? Yeah, so let's, I'm not sure. So this change definitely makes sense. This trigger was clearly not doing anything, so getting rid of it makes a lot of sense. This changed the background brush and the border brush. I'm wondering if, like, I understand the intention of dropping these, but I do believe border is still being used. Yeah, because border brush and border thickness are still a thing, so I'm inclined to say this thing should keep this and it should match. Because otherwise the border brush is going to remain as it was. And I don't think that is correct. So this sets this guy here. I think though, what's BG button mean? Material design light. What the heck is up with these? Material design flat mid. They're based on weird styles. What the heck? These BG ones might need to go away. I'm not entirely clear what they're doing. Material design flat accent button. I realize these aren't part of the PR. They just stand out to me. So, and then this one here, material design outline button. The border brush is changed from the border brush to match the foreground. I don't think this is the change we want. Let's check it out and run it. 2131. So, let's see, grab latest master, and then we can, let's switch off that. So, 2131. Yes, I've got some old PRs that I need to go back and ultimately decide what we're going to do about. There is, did that full theme editor get a push? There was some massively large PRs that had conflicts, and it was one of those. I asked the original authors if they would mind going through and doing it. Oh, Robert, one thing you might be interested in seeing. There's a feature I put into the material design stuff for automatic color correction, specifically for accessibility. What the heck? It is really slow on restoring these. And I was curious what you thought of it, as somebody. Well, so it's not necessarily for color blindness per se. It does automatic color correction to support contrast. What the heck? Seems like, oh, I'm on the wrong branch, so that's part of the problem. Let's switch branches, and I was going to show this to you. So all you do in the app now, so the syntax is simple. It is an opt-in feature because it is very much a breaking thing. But this color, you set color adjustment to a new color adjustment class, and this thing lets you, if you want to change the contrast ratio and what colors it mucks with, you've got options for toggling this, or the desired contrast ratio. So material design spec says that for small font, which I think they define as like 16 point and smaller is what they consider small font, the contrast between background and foreground needs to be at least 4.5. And so this guy here, you're going to make me restart you, or are you just going to figure yourself out? I think you're going to figure yourself out. So this guy here will automatically toggle it, because the biggest issue I had is you select your color theme, right? So in this case, deep purple is the primary and lime is the secondary. The problem is what colors look good on the background changes based upon whether you're saying dark or light theme. So for example, we're dark theme here because my Windows is set to dark theme. But if I go light, you'll notice the actual color of purple is changing. So it's one, and this is why I made it an opt-in, because if somebody explicitly went through and like picked my company's color theme, they probably don't want me mucking with those colors, right? It's like, no, the designer gave me these RGB colors, don't touch it. It's like, okay, fine, hands off, I won't touch. But if you want it to, it will go and change it so that this is actually like, because some of this stuff was this deep purple, when you put it on this color of purple, that does not look good on a dark background. And so having it automatically switch to do this, I like. So, but that's why I made it an opt-in feature. So if people want automatic color correction, you add this one line. And if, for example, you want it to only muck with like your primary colors, so you can choose whether you want to do all your colors, just your primary colors, just your secondary. I suppose you could pick none, but if you're going to pick none, you might as well just get rid of the whole thing altogether. So that's what I built. I thought it was pretty cool. There was a lot of math. And ultimately, I came to the conclusion that there's not you can't just run it through a formula. So it does a guess and check, and it kind of does a binary search through the grayscale, looking for the right hue in order to achieve the target contrast ratio. So it does. It's a little more resource intensive, but I like the end results. I think this is ideal. So I think it's pretty cool. We'll see if anybody else. We'll see if anyone else uses it. It'd be cool to get people's feedback on it. Is a nice scaling for size. You mean like based on monitor, so that it scales up or down accordingly? Because there is. Where is it? There is this thing here. Not on monitor, but like for me, I have to scale things bigger sometimes. Oh, gotcha. Right. That's actually a good point. It would be nice if there was like people could kind of build that into their app, but this idea of scaling the whole app is somewhat challenging because you basically need it to scale up or down nicely. You kind of like the only thing that WPF has built in is you can make it respectful of the DPI. So one of these guys here, yeah. So you can go through, and if you create an app manifest, you can make it per monitor DPI aware, which for people with multiple monitors, or like as I imagine you run with a higher DPI than most people, you can go through and do this. So if you want to, you can steal the app manifest out of the demo app and drop it in yours. Obviously, some of this stuff, this is a request to the operating system to say, please add this. And some operating systems just won't do it. But I had somebody very conveniently add this into the demo. I was like, oh, thank you. It's nice having a nice sample of doing that. Okay. So before I got so carried away, we were checking out 2131, and I think specifically I wanted 2131. I've used linear algebra to just add an artificial magnifier on the app as a whole. Yeah, because you can also do something with like, let's see, rebase on a master. Because you can get away with something else too, where you do like a view box, or you set like a render transform or a layout transform on like the root element. It's not great. Because that's not really what those things were intended to be used for. Like they weren't designed to effectively theme out your app for sizing. I'm trying to think of what would be the easiest way to do it. Like it would be nice. Yeah, something like root element magnifier. It would be nice if, because what you could do is you could set font size on all of your text elements to a dynamic resource, and then just have something that changes that dynamic resource. So just like you would do with a color, where you dynamic resource out to a brush, you could have font size set to a dynamic resource. So you basically give yourself some like name sizes, like font large, medium, small, or whatever. And then, based on, user click button or whatever, you change that root resource. So, font size large, I'm going to bump everything up by 2 points or whatever it needs to be. And then all of the text grows, but not necessarily the layout of the app, because that does get a little harder. Is how do you change the layout? And I think something like that might scale better, because then your layout engine still gets free reign of everything. It'll probably also expose places where you need to turn on like text wrapping and that kind of thing. Right. Buttons, flat buttons. That's what we're doing. I knew I was doing something. Okay, so these guys here. It is interesting because this is the other one that changed out. Yeah, and I think the sizing is harder than colors. Like colors don't affect layout, whereas sizing does. And that's where it gets really, really interesting. But I do wonder, like if I was trying to do it for this demo app, my initial gut reaction would be to dynamic resource every text element's font size to say a name size, right? Like I'd figure out how many sizes I'm using, and I'm probably only using, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe total. And then rev that dynamic resource when I wanted to change, quote unquote, the size, because I imagine what you care most about is the font size, not necessarily the size of app elements. Just, make it bigger so I can read it. Okay, so those all work and those look fine. So the key thing I'm looking for is the mouse over and then the ripple effect. So those look good. Yeah, sometimes even the control click areas are stupid small. Yeah, I think that though you just blame the app author and fix it. Like some of the stuff in Windows apps that I've seen, they have what they call touch mode, which basically just like adds a bunch of padding around every single element. So blow up my hit test area by some percentage. Okay, so visual look of this, it's fine. So, okay, brush opacity converter, that we wanted to go and look at. So that guy, this guy should really do a null check here. So how about if value is, we'll do some pattern matching. Solid color, brush, then we'll do all this work, right? So boom, boom, boom. Return null, right? So C#8 pattern matching. It attempts a typecast. If the typecast succeeds, assigns local variable to brush, which is kind of exactly what we want. And actually, let's move this down because if this typecast fails, we don't need to do the conversion. So we'll save ourselves a little effort there. Okay, so that'll handle that. We'll click that off for the moment. This guy here. So that removal we like. That removal we like. This has border brush. So I'm a little curious what happens if I go to the buttons demo. Right? So I think there's a bug here where if I were to set the border brush, I'm going to get unexpected behavior. So let's confirm that. So this is the flat button style where this is applied. And so let's do material design flat button. Great. So you sound fine. So let's do, as everybody knows, border brush should clearly always be fuchsia. And I think we're going to have to set a border thickness too. Border thickness, and let's just make it 5 because I want this to be big and obvious and ugly. And I should figure out, I should chase some of these designer errors. I've been sort of punting chasing any designer errors in this because there's been so much designer work Microsoft has been doing on the latest Visual Studio stuff. And so I've been kind of just biding my time going, some of these bugs might just go away. So, which would be really handy. So that's interesting. So it is, so that, okay. So previously what happened? Previously the border brush got changed, and now now if you set the border, have a good night, Robert. Thanks for hanging out. Always good to chat with you. So previously it changed the border brush too, and this fuchsia would go away, but now it just leaves it in place. That's probably better, I guess. That's probably better. Okay, so these ones here, I might see if these ones are even being used. This might just be a let's nuke these things because I don't understand. flat. Like it bothers me that the name of this one is flat button, but it's based on raised button. There's something really off there. Okay, so this one is the outline one. And this is changing the border to match the foreground. So let's look here. Okay, so let's look at outline button. Let's jump back over here. Boom, outline button. So once again, we're going to go with border brush fuchsia, because naturally, and we will do border thickness of 5 again, just again to make it big and ugly. I've got XAML edit and continue. So it's interesting. This one completely disregards the brush. I'm sort of wondering if a better fix here because this is setting border brush. I think if the intent is for this to match the foreground, because what sets the foreground here? Right? Because it's clearly picking up the primary color. Let's see, template apparent. That one definitely picks it up, but how is it getting the primary mid? Oh, does this guy set it? This guy might set it. Foreground, yeah. So this guy is setting it here. I think a better solution here is to leave border brush alone, right? And just default it. Because if somebody wants to override it, I think we let them. Right? And they get the same behavior as they do on the other side. I think that would be better. So let's go to buttons.xaml and let's look at that. So down here, theme buttons. Let's take a look. Flat button, outline button. So I think what we want to do is we want to set something similar to what this guy does. So we want, rather than relying on the foreground property, I think we want to just default the, oh, it does have a border brush property. I think we just change this here, right? So we change that guy to primary hue mid brush, right? Which lets you override it. And then down here, this goes back to border brush. That way, if you set it and override it, you end up with this. So if somebody wants to set it and get something, they can. Or if they don't set it, such as here, right, then they end up with something more akin to this, where it styles out appropriately. I think that's better. I think that's a little cleaner. Okay, so what all do we change here? So let's start with this. Adding null check on converter. Do that as a separate commit. And then let's see here. I don't think we want the demo app change there. Discard changes. Switching outline style to use border brush again. This allows the border color to be overridden. Yeah, because we've gotten ourselves bit a number of times where we reuse a brush because they happen to be the same, and some people always want to change them to be different. I'm wondering if I should write some tests around this real quick. This might be worthwhile to write a few tests around the outline style specifically, given that that one was there, because there's some behavior here that I think is worth trying to capture and making sure we identify that it's something that we want to keep as part of our spec. So we're gonna do copy pasta this one, and let's do. Oh, I gotta stop executing. So again, these UI tests are using my own XAML test library. So I initially had advertised it as this is not a full UI testing library, but I feel like I'm slowly moving that direction. I don't think it's quite there yet, but the more I use it, the more I want to use it in other places and add more features to it. So there's that. Okay, so this guy is going to, because he derives from test base, he's going to automatically spin me up a thingamabobber, and it's going to do, when we call load XAML, it will initialize with all the material design stuff. So that's cool. That's awesome. The only thing I was curious about is what that doesn't get me a. That doesn't give me any control of. I want to include another resource dictionary. We might need to give ourselves another little button, because ultimately what I'm wanting to write here. So I want to have a button, but I want its. Here, let's do this. Let's just move you down a line. So let's see, style, and we will do static resource, and very similar to what we had on our buttons.xaml here. Nope, not what I told you to do. Not what I told you to do. Outline button. So we basically want to grab this, right? So this is the behavior we want to test. So when I do this, I want to assert that I can do things, or I want to assert on things like its background color, its border color. I'm trying to think what else is important here. Let's start there. So it's going to grab the primary hue mid brush and pull that out of the theme colors, which is great. I don't know if this is actually going to resolve this style. This might not do quite what I want. Okay, and so we want to do something like color border color gets await button dot get. I don't have that, which is really obnoxious. So all these extension methods are not fancy at all. They pretty much are wrappers around this. But it's really convenient to have stuff like that. All right. Why does that one have nullable? Huh. I wonder if that's just a decompiler error. Task color. I think we can do that. Let's see. Border brush. So it's worth noting it'll also do magical conversions for you. And I really shouldn't do that. I should really use name of button dot. Let's see. Grab. Name of button. Why? What are you resolving to? Oh. System control. Oh, system Windows controls button dot border brush. Boom. Well, you are batting 1,000 today. System.windows.controls. That's what I want. Trust me. Really confident. Oh, this is because it doesn't know which button to resolve to. Metal Slug. Hey, Metal Slug, how you doing? I am finally feeling better. I was out for multiple weeks. Some of it was getting out with, or getting knocked out by a cold, and then I had scheduling conflicts, and it was an adventure. So we're just gonna explicitly tell it. That is what button is. Stop thinking for yourself. Be button. Why are you having so... Yeah, it wasn't bad. I thought... So my two lovely little children had both gotten the cold before my wife and I. And so they bounced back in about a day. Like, they're young. They were out. They were kind of feeling yucky and then coughing a little bit. And they're like, oh, I don't feel good. And then they woke up the next day and they were fine. So then when I caught it, I'm like, oh, not a big deal. And then it leveled me for a week. So that was not fun at all. Yeah, it's this button namespace that's messing it up down here, but this will work. Okay, so border color, background color. What else was important about this style? Because what we just changed on here. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think. I hope. Yeah, I think that'll work. So we're basically looking not on the flat button, on the outline button. We're looking to verify because the border brush gets changed, and we want to verify that that is as expected rather than this down here. And I think we might even want to check it, because if we just check the border brush on the root, it's not going to be the same. I think I want to check the border on the inside. Yeah. Let's see. So we want to do var internal border gets button get element. How are you doing, Metal Slug? Let's see. Get element await. That'll give me a new iVisual element. And I think, so I want this. Let's see. Outline. Let's see. Outline button uses theme color for border, which is what we're looking for. So I want to grab border color. I don't care about background here at all. And then color, internal border color. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Where are you located again? It was California or similar, right? Interviewing with a couple of companies. Well, cool. Interviewing, looking for another like C#.net position, or just whatever's available? So let's see. We're going to do the same. LA, California. Okay, that's right. Get property. Oh, nullable. And I can do this. Thinking of getting into scalable tech, looking to relocate. Interesting. Well, in the name of shameless self-promotion, so when you say scalable tech, let's see, so teletech.com/jobs. If you are interested, my company is technically hiring. Though I think right now they're looking mostly for, yeah, so there's a Google Cloud developer position, software developer. Secretly, we're always looking for this for if we can find good people. The hard part is for all of our positions, we're very much trying to favor finding people local to Western Washington. We do have so where we're located in Spokane, Washington, like northern Idaho is not that far away. It's like 45 minutes, 35 minutes. And so there are people in like northern Idaho in like Coeur d'Alene or Post Falls area that we get a lot of people in. So there's a Spokane isn't quite like, it's not big like when you think of like an LA or a Seattle or that kind of thing, but it's kind of nice. It's slowly been growing to have it. So if anything there interests you, by all means, go through and click and apply. Feel free to reference my name and let me know if you've got questions. Like, I'm happy to discuss further if there's anything you want to know about, like the area, the company, that kind of thing. So, but that's all that information there. Yeah, it's actually been, so my company has been not, I won't say not affected by like the COVID stuff, but we've weathered it better than most. So like the CEO is really good at being conservative with finances, so making sure he's always got a backup. They're really slow to hire because they absolutely hate to let people go. Um, and so it's one of those, they go out of their way to try and be really good to their employees and take care of everyone, which I definitely appreciate. So let's see. We want to verify that those there, and we want to make sure that they match that. So I want to do that. Boom, boom. And I want to do that. So yeah, like I said, if there's anything that interests you or you want more information on the company, feel free to hit me up, and you can always, yeah, yeah. Like I think when COVID launched at one point in time, we were doing like monthly company meetings. And at one point in time, it was like every other week, just because people were remote and they were trying to keep people to feel like they were still part of the team. And so there was one point in time where they're like, yeah, we're gonna put a hold on hiring people right now just because we don't know, what's gonna go on with this. And then I think the next company meeting, the update I heard was, yeah, we just got a bunch more contracts coming through the pipe. We're now back to hiring again. It's like, oh, so that's how bad it is. Got it. Okay, cool. So that works. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add one more. Yeah, and it is nice. So now, obviously, I have an incredibly biased opinion, but in my opinion, in this area, my company has the best team out of anyone by far. So, but again, my opinion's biased. Like, and like any company that's been around and sticking around, I've got a theory that they've got at least one good person on their team, because companies who don't have any good people usually just tank. And so like at most places you can always find at least some good people, but in this area, like I said, my biased opinion is we have the best team out of everybody. Let's see, on mouse over, uses theme brush. So this is going to be the same type of thing, but if we jump back here, really what I'm looking to do is test this trigger out, right? And make sure that when the mouse moves over this guy's background gets changed. Now this guy is picking up the foreground color with an opacity. That's probably okay. Yeah, that's probably okay. Do I want to assert that it matches the foreground, or do I just want to assert that it matches the default? I think just that it matches the default. I don't think we need to do anything too, yeah, I don't think I need to do anything too fancy. So that there, we don't care about, we do need mid color. We do need the internal border. I don't need the outer properties border anymore, so that's not a thing that I care about. And let's see here. And I do apologize if I miss chat messages. My app that shows me the chat history has decided that chat history is optional. So I see the same chat history everyone else does. Except for I don't get to see the past ones. I only get to see them as they pop up. So I apologize. If I miss something and don't reply to it within like a few minutes, say it again. I probably just missed it. So I want to do, let's see, move cursor to element. And I believe I have something. I was able to see what you're up to. So we're going to put the cursor just right over the center of that guy. And then we're going to grab his, not his border, but his background, right? So we want to pick that up. Did I use, oh, in this case, I was just testing border. Okay. So, because again, it's this trigger that I'm looking to test. So internal border is the target, background property, and I want to assert that the brush in question that gets pulled up is the theme brush that's the mid color. Now this is going through foreground and jumping through gyrations, but my assertion, I don't care how it gets to it. I just care that it gets to that color. So the mid color is what it is, but I want to do with opacity, right? And I want to do 0.16. Right? That's, yeah. So then if we run the test, and this is why I've been liking my XAML test library, is that was easy. It failed, but that was easy. Okay, so why did you fail? Because visually that looked correct. So expected was something akin to this. Actual was way off. So let's see here. So that was, that seems unusual. I'm wondering if there's just a timing problem. Let's just check and see. I'm wondering if it moves the cursor and then immediately grabs the property before the trigger has a chance to execute. So let's see. So it grabbed a color. Oh, so it actually. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, because the color is correct. The color is correct. The issue is this is a brush property. Ah ha ha. My library is being smarter than me. I don't like this. This thing is generating up opacity on the brush, not on the color property. So the color is, in fact, correct. So do I care to test that? So I think what we do here, right, is I do solid color brush, right? Grab that. And I think we just test internal border background, I think. And I think what we do is this guy color should match. And then what we said is the brush itself should have an opacity of 0.16. Okay, let's try that. That will probably get me a little closer. And I probably won't need that delay on there. Though I might still need a little bit. Okay, so that guy is unhappy. It's saying he got back an opacity of 1. Oh. This is likely an issue of XAML test. I have a sinking suspicion that when it does brushes, it doesn't move the opacity with it. That is probably a bug. Let's see. XAML test, and I want to look at service and get property. Let's see. Get value, assembly qualified name, set value. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. That is not going to serialize that across because it's using the type converters. So that is a bug there. And so I think what we do is we simply drop this and just test against the color. I think that is the solution. Okay, and then we want to get rid of the timing issue, so we get rid of that, and we see if the test still passes. And if it fails, we'll just put a explicit wait in, because we don't want to use a timeout like that. Yeah, I kind of think this won't be a problem for timing. Yeah, so okay, I think I like that. That gives us tests over the stuff we changed, so we'll add that in too. So adding UI test for outline button. Oh, that's what else we wanted to test. We wanted to theme color for border. We want to assert that because the issue with the change that was there before is you couldn't override the border, right? Outline buttons. Let's see. Border can be overridden. Okay, so we need to set some stuff here. Let's break this up. I'm starting to think I don't like that. Yeah, we'll do something more like this. Let's see. So border thickness should be, I don't know. We'll just set it to 5. Anything non-default will work. And then let's do border brush. And here I think I'm just going to use red because that's an easy thing to manually convert the RGB code for. And let's see, internal border. So this is what we want. But what I am looking to grab here is, so you go away. Don't want you anymore. But I want to grab border dot border thickness. And this is going to be a thickness property. Switch that. Yeah, I understand. You're unhappy. Hold on, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. Trust me. Naming things is hard. So border thickness and border brush. Yeah, so we will do border brush. And this will be a solid color brush again. Paste. So we'll do that and border brush. And we'll just make sure that this still works. So the expected thickness that we expect is a universal 5 all the way around. So border thickness, and the border brush we expect colors red and nope, border brush color. All right, so we expect that to work. Great, worked like a charm. Okay, so add this in. Adding UI test for outline button. Yeah, great. So we'll add those in, push some changes, force push, and we'll get that PR merged in. And I may end up calling it for the night, but so let's see here. So this becomes here, approved, submit. Yeah, hush. You are fine. So this goes into the 4.0 milestone, and then the 2 linked issues need to be moved into 4.0. Yeah, I'm not sure if I flagged those. This one's already been flagged, so we'll do that. So both of those are handled. Might be nice to write some UI test over this one here, but it's after 11 p.m. and I started my day before 6. So it sounds like a sleeping time. It sounds like I need some sleep. I am very interested in why it's like DevOps is working. Yeah, thank you. I've had a lot of early days. If people haven't seen it, so I've been working with a guy Dan from let's see build5nines.com, and so if people are interested, we did a couple sessions on Terraform. So there's the DevOps playlist has it. There's also a specific Terraform playlist that has all of them in there. If people are interested in doing like infrastructure as code type stuff and Azure DevOps and pipelines and all that kind of fun jazz. So may end up doing more with him. Just kind of depends on where things go. So if people find that interesting, that's been the early morning activity. Okay, the thing knows there's a check being run. It has the circle. It knows. It knows. How, like, you know this. This is just weird. I can't decide if this is a bug or what the deal is, but the fact that it's not showing it, it's almost making me wonder if I've got like a webhook or a service connection problem. I might have to dig into this a little more tomorrow and see what's going on, because there is something that is inherently off with this. Something is inherently off with this. But we have the pipeline right here. So just refresh. Show me your pipeline. Whoa, hello Houston. What are you doing that's running for infinite? Yeah, we're going to cancel you. I've seen this happen a couple times where it clearly gets stuck doing something and it starts running for a very, very long time. Unfortunately, I don't know exactly what's causing it. And it's always difficult to debug a problem that's not like a failure, that's just a straight up, like, it's either hanging or similar. And I don't have a lot of, there's not a lot of calls or things in there that can hang forever. There are some waits and whatnot, but there's nothing explicit. It's like it's getting itself caught in a loop or similar, and I don't quite know what's going on or why. Because most of the time the tests run quite fast. It's just some of those get stuck. Yeah, so I wonder if maybe that was hampering its ability to report progress. Yeah, it should be in here. I am confused. And the fact that I see this little itty bitty yellow circle in the corner means GitHub knows the status of the build is in progress. It knows. It knows. And it just doesn't want to show it to me. And I don't know why. Well, for all I know, it's just a simple bug. So get me past my tests, and then I click the button. Come on, run those tests. Should only take it a couple minutes to kick off. Because I think the last ones that were successful, the UI tests, yeah, they take a couple minutes to run. But considering all of those tests, each one of those starts a brand new WPF app, that ain't bad. Not bad at all. Still faster than a lot of UI test frameworks. So as long as it doesn't run for too long, I would expect it to finish at roughly the same rate. Okay, so get that going, and then I don't know if there's any other. Is there any? Well, while we're waiting on this, actually put that back. There's no quick and easy ones that I can just toggle. There was this one for the startup project. Let's just check that real quick. Visual Studio Startup Project. I don't know if that's going to get me. How about where is stored? Because I'm pretty sure this is stored in the user profile, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's stored in the SUO file, which is a bit of an issue. Yeah, like yeah, that is a bit of an issue. I think though, so the one thing that this change does do, oh, and I bet you that's what it's doing. It's probably cheating. Oh, because it changes the order of files in the solution. That's what it's doing. Okay, because when you first clone the project on an empty clone, it doesn't have a startup project. So Visual Studio is dumb and says, I'm just going to pick the first one in the list. And so this just moves this down so that the demo is the first one in the list. I get it. I get it. I get how it works now. That's kind of clever. So this gets a demo app label. Bum, bum, bum. Goes in the 4.0 milestone. We squash merge that beast. Easy win. Easy win. Let's see. Okay, UI test pass. Okay, all the tests pass, so we're just going to merge the other one too. And squash merge, and away we go. That should kick off. That should go out the door. I just want to confirm that my other pipelines are running successfully. So yeah, so the one from 1016 did successfully get itself out to NuGet. And then these ones will go out again. So the way the pipeline's set up is it automatically kicks out these releases here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually run this pipeline because I'm fairly confident that I want to see this run. I think it's set to run in like 4 hours or something. I picked a time when I would hopefully be asleep. The problem is if there's an issue, I'd kind of like to know now and not when I get up in the morning. Plus, if this guy runs successfully, he's likely to open a PR, because that's usually what ends up being the trigger for the nightly releases, is it automatically opens up PRs. Let's see, this one I think got changed, didn't it? For some reason, sure. Yeah, okay. So that one's a known thing. So once that's done, because that is one that I held on and I wanted to keep at. This character counter thing too, I also want to take another look at because my goal would be not to have it just be a single a single thing, let you put arbitrary content there. Would be my end goal. Okay, so that, did you guys, we merged that PR. Oh, so you guys aren't closed anymore though. So close issue, because the text didn't say the word fixed, it didn't auto close. So there's that, and then back to here. You are running, good news, didn't just straight up die, so that's a positive note. So welcome to .NET Core 3.1. Huzzah! Thank you very much. Off to the races. Give me a clean run, please. And then give me one more PR to merge. That way I can feel like I merged a whole bunch of stuff today and was productive. Let's see. Let's look at this. This is probably an easy win. Oh, he even wrote a test for it. This works. He actually wrote it as a unit test rather than a UI test, so that's fine. Doesn't bother me. So this does a template binding to background. Does background default to transparent? Let's just check. Background defaults to transparent, so that will have identical behavior. That's another easy one to put in, especially with the test there. That is very easy to accept. And squash merge, squash merge. Let's make sure you're in the right milestone. Bring that in, that close, that close. I think the other ones I probably need to have more brain power to look at. Oh, there it is. Huzzah. Freebie. Okay, and squash merge, squash merge. There it is. Icons updated to the latest and greatest stuff. So, you're welcome, everyone. We have icons again. Okay, pipelines are working. Stuff is running. Lots of stuff merged. I got more stuff to review, but I think we're getting there. So, thank you, everyone, for coming and hanging out. As always, I had fun. I hope other people had fun. Hopefully, I'll be hearing from people if you've got questions. If you're thinking about doing Hacktoberfest, there's still plenty of time to do it. There's a 14-day delay on PRs, so you've got time. Yeah, Metal Slug, like I said, if you've got any questions or whatnot on company or anything that sounds interesting to you, you can always message me. My DM channels are open on Twitter. Is probably one of the easier ways to reach me. So if you want to grab me, Twitter link right there. So, we'll talk to you later. Have a good night.